right.
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome news show this week. All kind of stuff going on, and we'll talk about one thing that we really got. We had the brand new market numbers in, fresh out of February, and they're very, very interesting to say the least because it's crazy. Pending deals are almost double what they were in December and early January. Basically, January through January, February, they doubled where they were December. We'll talk about 15% year over year. Thankfully to low interest rates, but we're still saw a decline in sales last month because November, December struggled. So it's a very interesting time in the market. And then right now, the last 7 days on markets put more volume under contract in our entire MLS the last 7 days than the entire year so far. So it's been crazy, even though rates have been going up. So it's a very, very interesting dynamic right now. We'll kind of talk about today's show and help you make better decisions with your largest assets. And that's our number one goal in this show. Been doing this 14 plus years is, look, we just want to give you information, share good, valuable stuff to help you make better decisions. For most people, real estate's their largest asset, right? So we want to help you be in the know. You'll talk about what's going on with friends and relatives and really just kind of keep your pulse on what's happening. And so that's the main goal we'll talk about today. Awesome. A new article came out from U-Haul. And it was U-Haul released their data from 2023 of all the top places their trucks move people to. And Myrtle Beach came in that list, that top 10 list, which is awesome again. And 2 cities from South Carolina on there. Very excited about that. Very, very cool, kind of interesting list. We'll talk about overall what's going on, which is super cool. And we have a brand new Sean Hannity commercial endorsement that we'll release on today's show. Very, very excited about that. Very good friend. Sean, we've been doing business in partnership together since 2009, I think. So it's a very, very long time. And this one's super cool. It has to do with the election. We kind of did some stuff to collaborate on it, which is very, very cool. So we'll kind of play that for you in today's show and just do the same thing we always do. Just help keep you informed. We have some amazing, amazing success stories. Our team's been absolutely crushing it, burning at both ends 7 days a week, really, this entire year so far, keeping up with what's going on in the market. And we'll share all that with you and hopefully have time for a little bit more at the end as well.
Listening to it, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show, hosted by, of course, Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan has been called the Real Estate Whiz Kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. You've maybe seen him on TV with NBC and also with Fox and Friends, the morning show. You heard the personal endorsements here by Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's just totally unprecedented. Now, that's one thing. But the other thing is that Blake has trademark systems for both home sellers and home buyers. They are trademarked, so we can't give you all the details, but more than happy every week to tell you the most important part of that system.
Yes, and this whole point right here is really the main DNA behind this show because just doing this for, like I said, 14 plus years, just doing this radio show, it's really just became very apparent that people make big mistakes when they're dealing with the real estate. They just don't really understand sometimes how to pick an agent, what the difference between agents is, and it doesn't matter how affluent they are, right? How many properties is sold, they all make the same mistake, just over and over and over. They tend to ask the absolute wrong questions, and I just find this overall. Even, and I'll tell you, who ask the worst questions, the people that are the higher end houses. They think, oh, because so and so sold 3 houses in my neighborhood, they're the best. They don't realize the only 3 houses they sold were actually in your neighborhood, and they just happen to do that because they live there, right? So the reality is, like, people make this huge mistake, and the big mistake they make is thinking that all real estate agents are the same. And it could not be any further from the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, if you ever had any legal issues before, like, or had to deal with any type of court stuff or whatever it is, you realize there's a big difference in a really good attorney and just an average okay attorney, right? And if I'm charged with a crime I didn't commit, or if I'm in a legal battle of some type where somebody did me wrong, I want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law and is super, super aggressive, right? You want that type. And it's just so true. It's understandable. Just like a quick side story, I had an attorney experience one time where I had somebody had stolen some very proprietary materials to us, and I was very upset about that. And so I went and got these attorneys, and I didn't ask the right questions, and I want the biggest and the best. and who was really the most expensive in that scenario. And I was really going out to, and I put everything together in this amazing notebook from A to Z, every document, everything was proven, everything was documented. It was cut and dry for this hearing. We show up to the hearing and we got smoked. The guy didn't even open the book. He had never even looked at it, right? We've been waiting for 2 months prepping. This guy was such a big shot in his own head. Old school guy, been doing it for a long time, and didn't even open to look at the notebook that I gave him before the hearing. And so just that's an example you run into, right? It's the same thing with your house. You have somebody that is either committed to details, fanatical about details, that likes to make sure they do everything to prepare to win, or you have somebody just rolls by the seat of their pants and just kind of get what they do done, right? So that's the whole thing people don't realize is like the most important decision anyone makes is the agent that you choose, period, right? The reason that is when you sell a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. So if each one of those is handled correctly, meaning they execute at a high level, that saves you money, right? Or you make money in your sale and puts more money, your hard-earned equity in your pocket. If anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball or they get lazy or they mismanage something throughout that process, that costs you your hard-earned equity, or the property does not sell. We're seeing that a lot more now that the market has cooled off. When the market was super hot, you could have anybody take some cell phone photos and sell it. They thought they were successful, but the home seller didn't realize they sold it for 40 grand less than they could have, right? And we still see that happen now every single day. And so the one thing I'll share in the show is if you take anything from the show, right, just understand the single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing and one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Because what most agents do is they have a really broken business model where if you look all across the country, how it works is you have one big broker. It's like when I started, I was at Coldwell Banker. It was me and 200 agents. They didn't care about me. I didn't care about them. In many cases, they didn't like me because I was this new young kid that was selling some houses, right? And so what we found was there was no alignment in the deal, right? I was having to do everything by myself anyways. There was no, really support from a transaction standpoint. And so what you have is really much across the board is you have a bunch of single agents that work under an umbrella, which would be the broker, but there's not really an alignment within the team, or there is no team, right? You have a husband and wife, maybe. What you find is they're like the same. The whole best analogy is like when you have one agent trying to do everything, all 118 different variables in selling a house, it's physically impossible for them to do all of those efficiently. It's physically impossible to do all of them on just one listing. But the problem is they get 15, 20 listings. They're trying to survive, and you can't survive off just one listing. So the reality is you got to make sure that you're getting multiple listings to be able to survive in this business. And so if you break it down, having one single agent handle all 118 different variables on your house only is like having the same person at McDonald's do the front register, the drive-through, the French fries at the same time. If you went to that restaurant and that McDonald's and one person was doing all of that and there's a line in front of you, your experience wouldn't be very good. But what they found, and what Ray Kroc found, is, hey, look, if we can have these specialists, one person specializes in fries, one person specializes in drive-through, one person specializes in front register, we can be much more efficient and obviously give the higher level of service with a very predictable, repeatable system. And that's exactly what we did in real estate. And I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well, right? It's designed to have two things in mind that really differentiate. And the main thing is we have a team of people. We're about 30 people on our team, 20 plus buyer experts all day, every day. All they're doing is making buyer phone calls, reaching out to buyers that we have, showing them houses, selling them houses. Then we have inside sales, outside sales, listing specialist, listing coordinator, closing coordinator, in-house graphic designer, in-house photographer, in-house videographer. And so all that's done in-house so that we can manage those variables proactively. And then we back that up with technology to make sure the same thing happens the same way every single time, aka each person's assigned a task. And so it allows it to run like a true machine and make sure that, hey, we're able to be a team of specialists. So I'm able to focus on what I'm best at, which is getting your home sold, right? I'm not worried about some small detail in terms of making sure the lot box got put on at the certain, time or whatever it is. Because what you find what most agents do is they list your house, they're super busy. It takes them 4 days to get the photos. Then once they get the photos, it takes 4 days to get on MLS. And just so many missed opportunities. And here's the crazier part. What most people don't realize, if you call most realtors off a for sale sign, guess what happens? They don't answer because they're face-to-face with somebody else. And so with this model, right, we have someone answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We even have artificial intelligence that'll respond at nighttime, both voice and via text for any inquiries to make sure that your buyer inquiries are responded to immediately so that no one falls through their cracks. And there's all these details that need to get handled. And that's why you want to have somebody who's not there dropping the ball. Because if your friend who just got their license is out trying to survive and they're showing houses, but they call off the for sale sign of your house, guess what happens? They can't answer the phone and they're not able to close that buyer, not able to really, I don't want to say pitch, but they're not able to explain the benefits of your house to that buyer. And so what happens is that buyer moves on somewhere else. And so it just happens over and over and over. I had a coach of mine tell a funny story just this last week where he was trying to buy a CVS. It wasn't here, it was in Nashville. But this happens in industry all the time, over and over. He called to buy the CVS. He's a very, successful coach, very, very good at what he does. Coaches a lot of big Fortune 500 people too. But he had to call this agent 7 times and didn't get one single answer or a callback 7 straight times. And finally, he called him the 8th time at 6 a.m. in the morning while he was at the gym and left a message, say, hey, man, I'm really concerned about you. Make sure you're okay. Did something happen to you? Are you still alive? This is my 8th phone call to you to try to buy a $2 million property, and you haven't called me back. Guy finally called back and said, yeah, man, I'm just super busy. And this is what was so-called the, quote, top agent in that area for commercial. And he said, hey, man, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you trying to sell this property? And he said, why do you say that? Because he goes, I just called you 7 times. You didn't call me back one single time. You seem like if you were hungry to sell this, you would actually call me back. And this happens all across the board. What you don't realize is if you don't have someone who's aggressive, right, who pushes hard, who has systems and processes in place to make sure that happens, we're able to make sure that we handle this for you. So we have inside sales who make sure they answer the phone all day, every day. And it's covered to make sure that, hey, when somebody calls in, we're on that thing ASAP. And so if you want to know more how it works, reach out, call me. There's so many nuances. Once we show clients or show potential clients how it works in the back end, kind of the behind the curtain, so to speak, of real estate, it absolutely blows their mind because they know the examples. They've been the examples when they've called the agent, never hear back. All these things that happen from. And on the flip side, if you're buying a property, guess what? There's 100 plus variables out there when you're buying a property. And so it makes or breaks your home purchase. Either you get the home you want or you overpay for the home you want based on how good your agent is, both in negotiation as well as their attention to detail on the back end through negotiation of home inspection, all these other things that you need in terms of vendors, all these other pieces of that overall. And you get even crazier into the details. The average agent in our marketplace sells 4 homes a year or less. And so if they're selling 1 home per quarter, what we find over and over and over is they'll throw their client under the bus in 2 seconds because they're just trying to pay rent next month or make their mortgage payment next month. And so that's why the agent you choose matters. That's why you want somebody who's aggressive, who understands the nuances and can really truly benefit you when you're making or selling your largest asset, purchase or sale. And so if you want to know more, reach out to me. You owe it to yourself to at least investigate it. Your friends, relatives, aunts, uncles, they owe it to themselves to at least look into it to see the difference and make sure you can ask the right questions. So if you want to know more, reach out, call me 843-808-SOLD. You can go to BlakeSloan.com anytime. Let's go ahead and check out that brand new Sean Hannity intro endorsement. Super, super excited about that.
Impact your family's future. Hey, your friend Sean Hannity here, and the same is true for your real estate transactions. Now, when you sell your home, you need to speak to one of the agents right in town that will get you the most money with the least hassle. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, knowing the facts when you vote and when you sell your home is always important. That's why you should check out the value of your home in today's market. When you know the accurate value, you are better equipped to make an informed decision with all the options laid out for you. You know, options like an instant offer or lay out your timeline and take advantage of their guaranteed sale program. Or just put it on the market and get more money than you expected. Just go to the website, find out your home's value in seconds. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com. And get your home's real value in today's market in just seconds. And then you can start packing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sales, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, they can ask for help or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get the home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Radio Show. Market update, all kind of crazy stuff going on here. And we'll talk about two types. This is super important because there's so many nuances right now going on just in the marketplace in general that we want to make sure that we're able to kind of break down and see, because what we're seeing is everything's delayed, right? So if you look at closed deals last month, which we can kind of talk about overall, they close in February. But if it closed in February, it went under contract November, December. If you remember back, the rates were super high then, and November, December was brutal in terms of pending deals and deals going under contract, right? People were just on the sidelines. It was the holidays. And then also, more importantly, rates were just super high. And so we're seeing that kind of happen. We're paying the piper from that now in terms of closed deals. Now, what we saw starting January 1st and on, the market's been absolutely on fire. And we'll see those close really starting in March and April, which I think you're going to see a huge bump. And I know that because I track every single day in my office, in my morning huddle with my team, how many properties went under contract the last 7 days and what the volume of those is. And just today, the last 7 days, we had a brand new record of what that is, which is huge, right? So it's one of those things that in the last 7 days, there's been 601 properties going under contract for $237,080,166. So basically, the last 7 days, $237 million in real estate went under contract. Huge. And so one of those things is like that's a new record so far this year, which is surprising because rates have gone up. But what's happening is the spring markets happen earlier than usual. And a lot of buyers who were on the fence October, November, December have been jumping back in. And as they've seen rates kind of go back up a little bit, they realize, hey, look, rates aren't going down like they thought they were. People initially predicted that the Fed would drop rates, 3 consecutive times. That's since come out. That's not going to happen most likely. And so what's happening, people are jumping back in. So if you know, anytime listen to the show in the past, anytime we hit 200 million or more in a 7-day period, the market is rocking and rolling. Those are typically summertime type numbers when you're seeing 200 million or more in a 7-day period. So that's awesome, awesome news. In the last 7 days, 20 properties over $1 million. One property, it's kind of, I was just watching a $7.99 million property went under contract. And that's a former Wild Water and Wheels. Unfortunately, they didn't reach out to me to sell that, but somebody else got it. And it went under contract. A lot of great memories there growing up. My mom was thinking this morning watching that, man, my mom used to drop me off in the mornings and I would go slide a million rides for, I don't know, hours and hours. I remember thinking like, man, I can't believe she dropped me off that young, just out there, as a little kid going through all those slides and wave pools and all that stuff. So interesting to see what happens there. A lot of rumors there's going to be some houses and stuff in there. I think it was 16 acres sold under contract at least for right at $8 million, which is awesome news. But 20 properties over $1 million, multiple houses over $2 million, which is awesome. 115 properties over 500,000. And interesting enough, we've seen inventory climb back up that spring market, right? People start getting their houses in the market. They're realizing, hey, look, pending deals up like crazy. I better get on sooner rather than later. And active single-family homes in Horry County, it's just because it's easier to track, right? Because sometimes they can have properties. Our MLS goes all the way into like Dillon, Marion, far inland. It goes way past Georgetown towards Charleston, McClellanville, and it goes into southern North Carolina. So just to kind of keep a pulse, I'll do Horry County usually every day. And it's 1,002 properties active for sale on the market. So great news out there for buyers. Not great news for sellers. A little more competition, but not too much overall. And so that's a huge jump. I mean, we're up significantly from the first week of the year, over like 100+%. About 145% from where it was just the first week of January. So great news out there. If you're thinking about selling, you want to take advantage of that because you're seeing buyers jump in sooner than later. This year, we're seeing summer type numbers in February into March because rates went down right late December and buyers started jumping in like crazy. And so great news here overall. Looking at closed numbers, the rear view mirror numbers, so to speak, those just came out for last month. They're preliminary coming. We'll see it change a little bit the next couple of days as some of the old data gets put in where some realtors are just slack. And if it closed last week of February, they still haven't updated the MLS. But right now, it's still pretty close and accurate. Right now, last month, there was 304 properties that closed, single-family resales. It's down 6.2% from the same month last year. And the lowest number we've seen in a very long time was December at 300 sales. Close. So only 4 better right now. And the last time we had 300 sales or less in 1 month was January 2016. So big slowdown there. That comes from obviously fourth quarter last year with rates being very high overall with that. One of the other things, though, we've seen prices done very well. Overall, median price is up 7.3% month versus month. So basically, February versus February, 7.3%, $381,000, which is awesome. The overall average sale price is up 13.9%. So price is still up double digits, even though sales are down, which is awesome. $488,740. It is down a little bit month versus month, but up 13% from February last year, which is awesome. Inventory is still very, very, very low. It's actually down from where it was in January. Right now, we're at 3.2 months of inventory. In January, it's 3.3, and that's just because so many buyers jumped back in from the sidelines as rates went down, and the market's been on fire. We talked about my team put 70 deals under contract just in January. Haven't got finalized February numbers yet, but very, very, very close to that overall. One of the key numbers we wanted to cover today was just pending deals. So pending deals is up 14.9% from the same month last year. That's how I know you're going to see a huge jump in closed deals for March. And also you'll see prices continue to climb as well, which is really crazy. If you look back in December 2023, just a couple months ago, that month there was 278 pending sales that went in. January, it jumped up to 414, and then February jumped up with 500, right on the dot, 500 pending sales winter contract, which is awesome there. And so that's a good news. It just shows you, if you watch the graph, it basically just shoots straight up the graph, because it went all the way from 278 December, 500 right now. And that's 500 pending sales winter contract last month in February, which is awesome news there. The same thing you're seeing, showings per listing is still down per year versus year. It's up to averaging 5.0 showings per listing. That's up significantly from December. In December, it was only averaging 3.1 showings per listing. So obviously a lot more buyer traffic coming in. The only problem, though, that you run into is the average amount of showings it takes per listing to get an offer takes 14.2. And that's why you want a good agent. That's why you don't want the agent who's a single agent, McDonald's in the front register, the drive-through, and the French fries, because they're averaging right now about 5 showings per listing. And the problem with that is it takes 14.2 showings per listing to get an offer statistically. And so I always mention I'm a big nerd for numbers. And so that's what we do, is we dig in and say, look, every Wednesday we go through every listing line by line with my listing team. And we say how many showings we have the past 7 days, how many showings we have the last 30 days, and how many showings we have all time. And we want to make sure we're in track with that. And if not, we move the knobs and make sure that we understand, hey, look, is there anything missing? Can we adjust the photos? How do we make sure that we can update this listing or whatever we got to do to get it back to the ability to get 14 plus showings if needed, right? Not all properties net amount, but we play those averages to our advantage overall, which is something very, very important to do. And I think most agents don't even understand that type of stuff. Looking at closed sales for condos, significant decline, down 17.1% year versus year. They've struggled a little bit in terms of condos, just because there's been a significant increase in HOA amounts, a lot of special assessments because of insurance. Insurance has been pretty crazy here, as a lot of people may know. We've seen that, especially with big buildings, with those premiums going up, or some carriers no longer carrying insurance here in our state. So looking at sales price for condos, those still great news, up 8.3% year versus year. So February versus February, 271,000, which is awesome. Median price right now for condos up 8.8% at 230,000, which is phenomenal. Inventory is up. It's been climbing up significantly the last few months. And again, it has to do, I think, a lot more condos being put on the market. If you're thinking about getting your condo sold, do it sooner rather than later. Because if you watch just the graph here, it goes up month versus month in terms of inventory. So for example, December, there's 4.3 months inventory. Then in January, it went 4.7. Right now, we're at 4.8 months of inventory. Anything 6 months or more becomes a buyer's market. So we're very, very close to getting back to that neutral market and a buyer's market in terms of how many condos are on the market, which means it's taking longer to sell. In some cases, they aren't selling overall what you're looking at there. Showings per listing on condos down 34% year versus year. And again, that has to do with some of the affordability, has something to do with the rates, some of the deals with the HOA amounts and insurance. So we've been very, very successful at doing that and helping our clients to really differentiate. Because one of the problems you run into, if there's an assessment or something happens, you'll watch 15 or 20 condos in the same complex. You better make sure your agent's very, very, very good at what they do, because if not, the only differentiator you have is to drop the price, and it's just a race to the bottom. And so that's when the agent you choose matters the most. That's when experience matters the most. And that's why you want to have someone who has a team of 20 plus people making phone calls on your behalf every day and making 16,000 phone calls per week, because that's how we differentiate the condo versus anyone else. And so Same thing there. Showings per pending. Average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 9.6. And the problem is the average listing in MLS is only getting 3.1. So very, very similar combinations there overall. One thing driving that has been interest rates. And we got good news this past week. A little bit decent information came out from the inflation data, which dropped rates a little bit. Last week's show is 7.16. Yesterday's rate was 7.15. Right now for a 30-year fixed rate, 7.10, which is, good news overall. I'll take anything that goes down, which is good. 15-year fixed, 6.60%. A 30-year jumbo loan is 7.42%. An adjust rate mortgage right now, 6.80. A 30-year FHA, 6.62. And a 30-year VA, 6.64% right now, which is, good news seeing those in the sixes. But if you're thinking about buying, do it sooner rather than later. I don't think that we're going to see rates drop significantly. Everybody thought they were. The same thing if you're thinking about selling, the spring market's happening much earlier than usual. If you want to know anything about your home value, we have an amazing tool. Sean Handy mentioned it a minute ago. I spend thousands of dollars a month, multiple $1,000s per month just for this software tool. You can go right to our website on your phone. It's like a chat bot basically, and you enter a few information about your house. It takes 2 seconds, and it gives you your instant home evaluation from all the data sources online, not just one. And I don't control that. That's just third-party data that we subscribe to. It shows you much more detailed information than Zillow, and it gives you your own homeowner dashboard where you can go back to it. You can put all your properties. If you own 15 properties across the country, you can put all of them in there, have your one dashboard. It tells you all real-time equity, what's happening with everything. And you can also click one button to get an updated human CMA, like a market analysis, and you get an instant one-click cash offer. And you can do that by going to blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break right back here in a second.
WRNN listeners, Blake Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home. Totally true, Clay.
Actually, well, I got like 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty. If you need to sell a home,
My battery is dying, so I'm going to
Blake about his guarantee.
end this
Get this,
recording.
Blake guarantees to sell your
See you
home
guys next
price
week.
and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by,